Let's import media into our first project using iMovie for the desktop. Before we create our first project, we notice up above in our title bar we have an additional button called Media. This allows us to look at our media that we have already available in our iMovie library, any events that we created. We haven't created one yet. We'll learn how to do that shortly. Or any media in my photos library. We're not going to import any media into this area. We're going to go back to projects and we'll learn how to do it from the project panel. So I hit create my first project. We're not going to do a trailer. We're going to do a movie. We click on it and now we're at doing our first project. That's called My Movie. We'll name this later on. And you notice there's no media in our project at this particular point. Okay, remember in iMovie for the iPhone and iPad we had to put at least one clip in the project before we get started. Where iMovie for the desktop we can start with a blank slate and we can just simply move to our iMovie library to pick information up if we want to. But in this particular case we're going to go back to our project and we can click on our import button and we find out we have media that we can pull from a variety of different sources. So in this particular case we have our iPhone. I'm not going to click on the FaceTime camera because I didn't comb my hair. My SD card from my Panasonic camera. An attached hard drive. In this case it's a Thunderbolt hard drive. I'm going to take a minute right here to explain what a Thunderbolt drive is. It's a high-speed drive specifically made for video editors, sound designers, and high-end photographers. USB cannot keep up with the amount of data that a 4K video clip will be able to bring into your project, unless you want to have a slowly running unit. So again, spend a little extra money and get yourself a quality Thunderbolt drive, and they come in versions 1, 2, and 3. 3 is the latest one and by far faster than any hard drive on the market. Enough of that. Or we can look at my desktop. So let's go back to the Thunderbolt drive just for an example, and I'm going to click on Ballet Dance and I can actually play my media ahead of time if I want to. So I can actually see what I want to bring in. But in this particular case, I'm not going to bring anything in from these sources. I'm going to close this panel up and I'm going to go back to Photos. And now I'm looking at my Apple photo album that I created prior. It's the same photo album that I used for iMovie for the iPhone and iPad. So how do I add clips into my new project? Click on one and drag it in place. See the plus symbol? I let go. Now I have my first piece of content. I'm going to go back to my photos library, and for me to bring in the rest of the clips quickly, I click on the first one, I hold down my shift key, I drag down to the last one, I multiple selected all my clips, and now I can drag all my media into my panel. So now this is all the media at this particular point I'm going to use to create my first iMovie project. But I want to go a step further. I might be doing a variety of different video projects and I might be using this media. And so in those projects, so instead of me re-importing them, duplicating, eating up my hard drive, what I'm able to do is create something new called an event. This is called a new event, and it's date stamped, and I don't want the date in it. In this case, I'm going to call it Cooking Class Media. And think of it as a folder, or in video editing terms, it's called a bin, B-I-N. What are bins? Bins are where, back in the day when film was used for editing, the actual film reels were put in a storage bin on a shelf. So they kind of brought this term over. So think of it as a folder. So if I go back to my open project, I can click on the first one, hold the shift key down, click on the second one, drag all my media into my cooking class media. This will always be there, so if I create an additional project, I can grab media from this. So it's a handy little way of organize your media so you can find things very, very quickly. So now once I have all my media in place, now it's time to actually build my movie in iMovie for the desktop. And so what I'm going to do is look for my first clip. Here's my opening clip that I've been using in my demonstrations for the iPhone and iPad. And the way I put that on my timeline is I just simply drag it down. And if I look at my second clip here, I can click on the plus symbol, and that attaches it. If I go to my third one here, I can use a keystroke. I can hit E. And so now what I'm going to do is quickly go through and add all the rest of the clips. So this is one of the chef, and I'm going to use keystrokes. E. 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 Drag, and then my very last piece here, plus symbol. So now I have all my media in my timeline, and it takes a little bit of time to scroll back and forth. Keystroke to learn is to compress my timeline into one simple view. I hold down my shift key and hit Z, and everything compresses down perfectly. Now, if I notice here, I forgot to put a clip in at this particular point. So I put my playback head where I want to insert the clip I missed. And the clip I missed was this wonderful dinner that we made. And so the way we can drag it between the clips, or what I'm able to do is hit the W key and it inserts directly in there. And the reason I'm using keystrokes, after a while, it becomes a lot quicker to use keystrokes to edit instead of using a mouse. So here is my first timeline with all my clips in place, exactly the way I want them. And if you notice, on each clip here, we have what we have a little line here showing that this clip is used in my timeline. So let me show you the difference. So if I decide to take this clip and not use it anymore, you notice the red line is gone. But if I drag it down in here and put it, now it's back in this area. So these is clues, and a little camera here showing that this is a still image. So there's a lot of indicators. Now once you're in the timeline, as I said earlier, we can expand our clips by using our settings button. And if it gets too big, Shift Z compresses everything down very quickly. So in recap, what we've done is we created a new project. We found out on iMovie for the desktop is that we have to actually manually put the media in. Okay, so once we created a project, we're able to go to external sources like your iPhone, like an attached hard drive, like an SD card, and bring media in from there, or which we did in our first two projects for the iPhone and iPad, is that we imported the media from Apple Photos, the album we made called Cooking Class. Once they're in place, we simply can drag each clip in order into my timeline, or we can use a keystroke. Either one of these are perfectly fine. Now what I haven't covered, and I'll finish on this, is that we can change the order by just simply clicking and dragging and moving things in place. So we can move things around very quickly if we need to, and if we don't like it, Command Z, undo, brings us back. Process after once we're done putting all the media in our timeline, what we need to do is name our project. We click on the project button. Dialog box comes up, allows us to give our project a name. Cooking class work in progress. Okay. Now I'm at my project panel, and if I go back over the media, I can see my cooking class event I made. I click under events, there it is, 13. Once I'm done exploring the media that's available in my iMovie library, I can go back to projects, and now you can see I have my cooking class final project and my cooking class work in project.